Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Chandra Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Chandra Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashoda Nandana Praja Jana Ranjana Yashoda Nandana Praja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So we're continuing with Srimad Bhagavatam, 10th Canto, Chapter 1, Text 4. We can chant the Sanskrit again. Nivrita Tarsha Upagiyamanad Pavosharach Chotra Manobhiramat Ka Uttama Shloka Gunanuvadat Puman Virajeta Vina Pashugnat Nivrita Tarshar Upagiyamanad Bhavosharach Chotra Manobhiramat Ka uttama shloka gunanuvadat puman virajeta vina pashugnat Nivrita tarshar upagiyamanad Pavoshadat chotra manobhiramat Ka uttama shloka gunanuvadat Pumandirajeta vina pashugnat Nivrita tarshar upagiyamanad Voshadat chotra manobhiramat Uttama shloka gunanuvadat Pumanvirajeta vina pashugnat Nivrita tarshar upagiyamanad Voshadat chotra manobhiramat Uttama shloka gunanuvadat Pumanvirajeta vina pashugnat Nivrita tarshar upagiyamanad Voshadat chotra manobhiramat Uttama shloka gunanuvadat Virajeta vina pashugnat Nivrita tarshar upagiyamanad Voshadat chotra manobhiramat Uttama shloka gunanuvadat Pumanvirajeta vina pashugnat Nivrita tarshar upagiyamanad Voshadat chotra manobhiramat Uttama shloka gunanuvadat Pumanvirajeta vina pashugnat Nivrita tarshar upagiyamanad Voshadat chotra manobhiramat Uttama shloka gunanuvadat Pumanvirajeta vina pashugnat Word for word. Nivrita, released from. Tarshai, lust or material activities. Upagiyamanat, which is described or sung. Bhava Oshadat, which is the right medicine for the material disease. Shrotra, the process of oral reception. Manaha, The subject matter of thought for the mind. Abhiramat, from the pleasing vibration from such glorification. Kaha, who? Uttama Shloka, of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Guna Anuvadat, from describing such activities. Puman, a person. Virajeta, can keep himself aloof. Vina, except. Pashugnat, either a butcher or one who is killing his own personal existence. Translation. Glorification of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is performed in the parampara system. That is, it is conveyed from the spiritual master to the disciple. Such glorification is relished by those no longer interested in the false temporary glorification of the cosmic manifestation. Descriptions of the Lord are the right medicine for the conditioned soul undergoing repeated birth and death. Therefore, who will cease hearing such glorification of the Lord except a butcher or one who is killing his own self? Repeat after me. Glorification of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is performed in the parampara system. That is, it is conveyed from the spiritual master to the disciple. Such glorification is relished by those no longer interested in the false temporary glorification of this cosmic manifestation. Descriptions of the Lord are the right medicine for the conditioned soul undergoing repeated birth and death. Therefore, who will cease hearing such glorification of the Lord except a butcher or one who is killing his own self? So, continuing the purport. Anyone who is not Krishna conscious and who therefore does not engage in the service of the Lord is also pashugna, for he is willingly drinking poison. Such a person cannot be interested in Krishna Katha because he still has a desire for material sense gratification. He is not Navrita Trishna. As it is said, Trivargikas, de Purusha Vimukta Hari Medasaha. Those interested in Trivarga, that is, in Dharma, Artha, and Kama, are religious for the sake of achieving a material position with which to gain better facilities for sense gratification. Such persons are killing themselves by willingly keeping themselves in the cycle of birth and death. They cannot be interested in Krishna consciousness. For Krishna Katha, topics about Krishna consciousness, there must be a speaker and a hearer, both of whom can be interested in Krishna consciousness. if they are no longer interested in material topics. One can actually see how this attitude automatically develops in persons who are Krishna conscious. Although the devotees of the Krishna consciousness movement are quite young men, I should probably wrote this way. Everyone was quite young men. Uh, they were quite young. Although the devotees of the Krishna consciousness movement are quite young men, they no longer read materialistic newspapers, magazines, and so on, for they are no longer interested in such topics. Nivrita Tarshai. They completely give up the bodily understanding of life. For topics concerning Uttama Shloka, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the spiritual master speaks and the disciple hears with attention. Unless both of them are free from material desires, they cannot be interested in topics of Krishna consciousness. The spiritual master and disciple do not need to understand anything more than Krishna, because simply by understanding Krishna and talking about Krishna, one becomes a perfectly learned person. Yasmin vijate sarvam evam vijatam bhavati, from the Mundaka Upanishad 1.3. The Lord sits within everyone's heart, and by the grace of the Lord, the devotee receives instructions directly from the Lord himself, who says in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 15, verse 15, Sarvasya chahang hridi sangnavishto bhaktakspritir jnanam apohanang cha vedaischa sarvar ahang eva vedyo vedanta krid veda videva chahang. I am seated in everyone's heart, and from me comes remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness. By all the Vedas I am to be known. Indeed, I am the compiler of Vedanta, and I am the knower of the Vedas. Krishna consciousness is so exalted that one who is perfectly situated in Krishna consciousness under the direction of the spiritual master is fully satisfied by reading Krishna Katha as found in the Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, and similar Vedic literatures. Since merely talking about Krishna is so pleasing, we can simply imagine how pleasing it is to render service to Krishna. When discourses of Krishna Katha take place between a liberated spiritual master and his disciple, others also sometimes take advantage of hearing these topics and also benefit. These topics are the medicine to stop the repetition of birth and death. The cycle of repeated birth and death, by which one takes on different bodies again and again, is called bhava or bhava roga. If someone willingly or unwillingly hears Krishna Katha, his bhava roga, the disease of birth and death, will certainly stop. Therefore, Krishna Katha is called Bhavoshada, the remedy to stop the repetition of birth and death. Karmis, or persons attached to material sense enjoyment, generally cannot give up their material desires. But Krishna Katha is such a potent medicine that if one is induced to hear Krishna Kirtan, he will certainly be freed from this desire. A practical example is Dhruva Maharaj, who at the end of his tapasya was fully satisfied. When the Lord wanted to give Dhruva a benediction, Dhruva refused it. Swami Kritarto Smi Varang Na Yache. My dear Lord, he said, I am fully satisfied. I do not ask for any benediction for material sense gratification. End quote. We actually see that even young boys and girls in the Krishna consciousness movement have given up their long practice of bad habits like illicit sex, meat eating, intoxication, and gambling, because Krishna consciousness is so potent that it gives them full satisfaction that they are no longer interested in material sense gratification. Om Jnana Tivranda Shakina Jana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militamnina Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. So, um, sorry, at the beginning of where we started reading in the purport, anyone who is not Krishna conscious and who therefore does not engage in the service of the Lord is also Pashu Na, for he is willingly drinking poison. So that's actually the position of most everyone in the material world. We take up if someone is simply engaged in throughout their life in material enjoyment, then it's simply drinking poison. I mean, poison, what does it do? It makes you sick, and then it kills you, kills your spiritual life, it kills your chance for spiritual life. And the Vedic culture, of course, Vedic culture was ultimately meant to help everyone to become Krishna conscious. But most people, at any one time in the material world, most people don't even have any inclination at all for anything spiritual. Like Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, out of many thousands among men, hardly one endeavors for perfection. And of those who endeavor for perfection, hardly one knows me in truth. So Bhagavad Gita, of course, is not just now. It didn't just come to existence now. The same Bhagavad Gita has been around for millions and hundreds of millions of years, actually. So that means that principle of in the verse I just quoted, that principle applies to everyone, even in previous ages. Satya Yuga, Treta Yuga, Dwapara Yuga, and Kali Yuga. Because people in general, even in previous ages, most people were not ultimately very interested in becoming fully Krishna conscious. Maybe at the end of their lives, but most of the time they were simply engaged in different activities to try to increase their material enjoyment. Right? They wanted to. People would worship the demigods, which it was a religious activity in a sense. It's in the Vedas. It's not sinful, but it was this activity that you could use for the religious activity you could use to get material gain in this lifetime, in the next lifetime, maybe in the heavenly planets. So most people at any one time, even in the beginning of the earlier ages, were interested in that kind of material enjoyment. And then at some point, of course, that material enjoyment never really satisfies anyone completely. So after maybe many years, people will say, "Hey, I've had enough of this material enjoyment. I'm too frustrated with the results of material enjoyment. So, but I'll try to get liberated. But the liberation in general, liberation for most people, at least in the beginning stages, was trying to merge in the Brahmajyoti. I give up all my material activities, and now I'm so frustrated with it, I need to do something which is transcendental to this material world, so I don't take birth in this material world again. So So in Vedic culture, you had the principles of religiosity, it was called. It's called religiosity, become religious. So you, and then by that becoming those religious principles, like the worshiping the demigods and so on, like that. And that religiosity, you become, you get some economic development. That's what people would do it for. And when you got economic development, unless somebody was already Krishna conscious, if you start getting money, you start getting different kind of material facility, then what do? You're ready to engage in sense gratification, right? If I can have more money, then I can enjoy my senses even more. So there's religiosity, economic development, sense gratification. That's the third stage. And then when you're completely burnt out from that sense gratification, then you think, oh, I, I had so many problems in this material world in this material situations. So now let me get liberated and go. For many people, that meant merging in the Brahmajyoti. Give it all up, but at least I'm transcendental to the material entanglement. So, but out of some of those who were ultimately wanted to get liberation, like in personal liberation, some of them, small portion, went to the later step, which was to engage in devotional service. Engaging in devotional service, then you naturally become Krishna conscious. And that becoming Krishna conscious, by becoming Krishna conscious, you become satisfied. You become very satisfied. Like Srila Prabhupada writes in the Nectar Devotion, first chapter, one of the characteristics of pure devotional service is that Krishna consciousness is what? The beginning of all auspiciousness. It's the first one. Beginning of all auspiciousness. Six characteristics of pure devotional service. He says there are six characteristics of pure devotional service, which are as follows. Number one, pure devotional service brings immediate relief from all kinds of material distress. Two, pure devotional service is the beginning of all auspiciousness. Three, pure devotional service automatically puts one in transcendental pleasure. Four, pure devotional service is rarely achieved. Five, those in pure devotional service deride even the conception of liberation. And six, pure devotional service is the only means to attract Krishna. So actually, these characteristics of pure devotional service, the first two we find in sadhana bhakti. So pure devotional service brings immediate relief from all kinds of material distress. So, of course, what is pure devotional service? Three characteristics. Just the last class I gave, we did this. Anyone here? Three characteristics. Anyavilasita shunyam jnana karmajanavitam anukulyena krishna nirchilanam bhaktir uttama. There were three. First one. Can't hear. Yeah, this is the definition of pure love of Krishna. So what do we have to do to actually have pure love of Krishna, or be engaged in pure devotional service specifically? That's all included. Pure, the first characteristic of pure devotional service is that one engages in devotional service according to what Krishna wants us to do. We can't just do something and say, confirmed. We cannot just engage in some activity and say, oh, okay, I decide, maybe I'll go out and just lie on the beach all day today. This is my service today. No, you can't just do something and claim that it's pleasing to Krishna. Yeah. So the first characteristic of pure devotional service is that we engage in activities according to what the Krishna wants, which means according to what the spiritual masters tells us that Krishna wants. We hear and we chant about Krishna. We do worship the deities. It's many forms of devotional service. Yeah? And then there are two do nots. So the two things that we avoid in pure devotional service. Yeah, those two, karma and jnana, as far as that verse goes. Yeah, so we don't. So we're engaged in devotional service, but we shouldn't be thinking, okay, I'm doing some of my devotional service right now, but my real desire is that after some time, maybe at the end of this lifetime, I can go to the heavenly planets where I can really enjoy. That's not pure devotional service. The activity may be good, but the mentality is wrong. And the same thing, I may be engaging in so much devotional service, I'm worshiping Krishna, and then I'm thinking, after I'm doing this now, just so I can ultimately go and merge in the Brahma Jyoti and forget about Krishna. That's not pure devotional service. So pure devotional service. So pure devotional service means that we are engaged in Krishna's service, and with not having the wrong mentality of impersonal liberation or desire for material, sense gratification. So, if we're engaged in pure devotional service, then it brings immediate relief from all kinds of material distress. So Srila Prabhupada explains here how if we're engaged in pure devotional service, that means, of course, the sinful activities have stopped. There's no eating meat, no illicit sex, no intoxication, no gambling, and so the sinful activities have stopped. So the results of those activities are, well, they don't continue. And of course, by engaging in pure devotional service, the actual reactions of those also get cut. So that immediately gives us relief from material distress. And not only that, but as we become Krishna conscious, we become free from ignorance, because ultimately, as it was due to ignorance some point in our existence, that we started engaging in such activities. So all these things are just by engaging in pure devotional service. That doesn't mean we are completely pure in consciousness, but at least our desire, our purpose in life is following the pure devotional path. So we're following the pure devotional path, then we immediately will get so much relief from our material distress, and then pure devotional service is the beginning of all auspiciousness. So what is auspiciousness means? What? Suppose defines this. It means it's that which is beneficial for all living beings, all human beings, but actually all living beings, because some people in the world they're a little pious in one sense. They say, okay, we're gonna we're going to work very hard. We got an organization. We're going to go out and we're going to save all the whales out in the ocean. We're going to save the whales. No more slaughtering the whales. Of course, they might be at home eating, cow meat or something, but we're going to save the whales. But to do something which is pure devotional service is actually auspicious, meaning it's actually beneficial for everyone, every living entity. Of course, it's good. It's obviously beneficial for the human beings who are engaged in pure devotional service, but it's also beneficial for everyone else. Just like in the meeting of the sages in Naimisharanya, the original Naimisharanya forest, or New Naimisharanya here. So at the beginning of the meeting of the sages in Naimisharanya 5,000 years ago, they chose that particular spot. Srila Prabhupada says that describes that particular place is considered to be like the hub of the universe. It's like it's the center of the universe, and therefore by performing their sacrifice of hearing and chanting Srimad Bhagavatam, by performing that sacrifice there, then everyone in the whole universe was being benefited. So of course we were not at Naimisharanya, I mean the original Naimisharanya anyway, but anywhere where there's any devotees engaged in devotional service, it's not only that those devotees are engaged in devotional service get the spiritual benefit, but because this devotional service is going on, the spiritual benefit is going out all over. So, the people who are walking down the street, the people who are in the office buildings, the people who are all around everywhere, they may not know what's going on here. They may not be attending the class. They may have no idea about Krishna consciousness, but there's some spiritual benefit that they are getting by just because this is going on here. So this is auspiciousness. This is pure devotional result of pure devotional service, and that doesn't even mean being a fully realized, self-realized soul. It means that we're on the path we're on the path. Just like when one gets initiated in spiritual life, Srila Prabhupada says that the devotee, the disciple at the time of the first initiation, the spiritual master takes the karma or neutralizes the karma. Exactly the words, but we become free from all our past karmic reactions by the time of the first initiation. So we think, how is that possible? I'm taken to the path, and all of a sudden, this is finished. And then where does that come from? Or there's always scriptural source. The scriptural source is right there in Bhagavad Gita at the end. Everyone knows the verse. Sarvadharmang parityaja mamekang sharanang vrajahang twang sarva papebhyo mokshayishami masuchaha. So Krishna says, give up all varieties of religion and surrender unto me, and I will protect you from all sinful reactions. Do not fear. So that's actually the basis of it. So of course, we take up the path of Krishna consciousness. How do I know? Krishna, I don't know how am I going to surrender to you? You surrender to Krishna by surrendering to the spiritual master who's teaching us how to surrender to Krishna. So at the time of initiation, we are agreeing, we're vowing that I'm taking up the path of pure devotional service. I am not 100% pure devotee, like Srila Prabhupada, but the path of devotional service is there. So we're taking up the path of devotional service. We've given up at the time of initiation. We've promised to give up the 4 sinful activities. We've promised to make a commitment to chant a regulated number of rounds in the Krishna in this movement. Of course, that means at least 16 every day on our beads, and of course to be engaged in so many ways in devotional service, because it's not that we just don't. That's not that we just avoid the sinful activities, which doesn't take any time, and chant 16 rounds, which takes maybe a couple hours a day, and do nothing else or do a lot of nonsense. We need to do those things, and we should be thinking all the time, what can I do to help in the mission of the spiritual master's mission, which is spreading Krishna consciousness. Even if you got a job outside or any family and everything else, but the mood there, the consciousness there should be, how can I utilize my time, my energy, my money, what I have in Krishna service. In fact, the whole material world is given to us for the purpose of performing sacrifice, isn't it? Krishna says, in the beginning of the creation, the Lord sent forth generations of men and demigods, along with facility for sacrifice, saying, "Be thou happy by the performance of the sacrifice, for by so doing, you'll be bestowed upon everything. All desirable things will be bestowed upon you." Right. So actually, the material world is actually given to us to use for sacrifice, for pleasing God. That's actually what it's here for. Most people, of course, don't understand that. A lot of people are still questioning: is there actually a purpose to the universe? But actually, there is a purpose to the universe, because there's a God who created it, and He created it for a purpose. So that when that and Lord Krishna, he's Krishna's Sri Upanishad, first verse, invocation verse. Om Purnam Anahat Purnam Idam Purnat Purnam Vidachate Purnasha Purnam Adaya Purnam Eva Vasishate. The Supreme Lord is perfect and complete, and because He is completely perfect, all emanations from Him, such as His phenomenal world, His material world, are complete as complete wholes. So we may think, well, this material world is perfect and complete, because God's perfect and complete. Everything He creates is perfect and complete. How is this material world perfect and complete? How is the world perfect and complete? And the world is perfect and complete, because we may think I'm here, but I have problems. I'm suffering. Mosquitoes are biting my feet. There's many things in the world that we could say are not in good condition. Yes. Yes. So we feel we don't understand the completeness, but there is actually a completeness in the plan. So Krishna, so the material world is it lacking completeness, or no? It's not lacking anything, because what is the purpose of the material world? It's not here to be a playground. Well, not a nice playground anyway. It's here to be we're sent to the material world because of our our, our enviousness, I guess you'd say, of Krishna. We want to be the enjoyer, not Krishna. So He sends us to this material world so we can play God for a while. You can be in a very big position, like Lord Brahma. Actually, our first birth in the material world actually is as Lord Brahma. So you can be in a very big position, a big controller like that. But obviously, if we start off as Lord Brahma, there must be an awful lot of living entities, awful lot of Lord Brahmas who messed up, and had fallen down to the lower species, and because we're all here. So you can anyway. The point is that the material world is meant to give it, first of all, to make us frustrated. Um, and when we become frustrated enough, and we have a human form of life again, when we come back up through the cycle, and we get a human form of life again, and we feel frustrated enough, and we're ready for something more than just material enjoyment. Then, of course, Krishna has already planned that, because he's already put in the material world his devotees, the acharyas, who are ready to give us good knowledge, perfect knowledge. So, and of course, he's also given the Vedas, because what the acharyas say is all taken from the Vedas. So the material world is here first to frustrate us, and then with any living entity, any living entity in human form becomes free from becomes it gets the desire for something a little bit higher than just gross material enjoyment. Then the facility is there, because the acharyas are there waiting for us to change our consciousness, and the Vedas are there. And then from that point, then we can engage in pure devotional service, and we get a chance to go back to the spiritual world. So in that way, Krishna has given us, he's put the universe is here for that purpose, to frustrate us so that we will, and then give us the facility to ultimately want to go back to the spiritual world. That is actually the purpose of the universe. And of course, as I always say every time I'm giving a class, we because the audience here is all those who are practicing Krishna consciousness. So we understand our position, so we should not give up that position. We should not give up that opportunity. We have the opportunity to become and finish our business in this lifetime, because there's always as long as we always have free will. So if we change our mind, and we always have that choice to change our mind and give up the path of Krishna consciousness. But we shouldn't, because if we give up the path of Krishna consciousness, and ultimately we can even fall back down and get tangled in the lower species of life, and go through millions of lifetimes, and we don't know how long we'll be here. So we have this opportunity in this lifetime to become fully Krishna conscious, finish up our business in this lifetime, to go back to the spiritual world. And not only do we have that opportunity, but this day and time is so, I mean, it's just so special. We're on Earth planet, right? We're on planet Earth, and the 14 levels of planetary systems, from the lowest, most hellish to the highest heavenly. We're right in the middle. So it means there's some suffering and there's some enjoyment. We may be sitting here and having a few mosquitoes biting our feet or something like that. But if we were in a hellish planet, maybe we would have 1,000 mosquitoes biting our feet at the same time. How do you concentrate on anything there? And in the heavenly planets, life of sense gratification is so great that you can't. It's really hard to control. You can't hardly concentrate on spiritual life. You've got to be a devotee. You've got to be high position to get there, but it's very distracting as far as trying to practice spiritual life. So we're right in the middle, and we're also at a time in history, universal history. Krishna only appears. Krishna appears in this world once in a day of Lord Brahma, right? Once in a day of Lord Brahma. And how long is Lord Brahma's day? (1,000 times the 4 ages). So that means so one Lord Brahma's day, that means 12 hours of his time. It's daytime. 12 hours of Lord Brahma's time is 1,000 times the 4 ages, And the 4 ages are how long? Anyone? No. 4,320,000 years for the 4 ages together. So 1,000 times 4,320,000 years is Lord Brahma's 12 hours. And then his nighttime is the same. So Lord Krishna only appears in one Kali. Well, Lord Krishna appears at the end of one Dwapara Yuga, after uh, 8 8,640,000,000 years, and but he actually appeared only 5,000 years ago. So we're right there. Okay, so we've got that so we have that opportunity. You can go to India and find places of Lord Krishna's pastimes. In the previous ages, I guess that wasn't available because it would have been thousand. We don't know how long. There would be like thousands and millions of years in between, billions of years between. And then, of course, Lord Chaitanya always appears in the next Kali Yuga, right after Krishna appears in Dwapara Yuga. Krishna or Chaitanya appears in Dwapara Yuga. So that was also special in this age, in this particular Kali Yuga. So Lord Chaitanya, he's not just some ordinary avatar. He's special, and he comes here to give us that special opportunity, not only to take up the path of Krishna consciousness, but to take up the path of Vrindavan style of Krishna consciousness, if we so desire. We have that opportunity, and of course we are also in the certain period of Kali Yuga. We had some of us still had Srila Prabhupada's direct personal association, but even those who didn't were not here directly when Srila Prabhupada was physically present, still we have his books, and these books are not, it's not like in maybe the day the time of Lord Chaitanya, there were no printing presses. So if you wanted to get a book, a Krishna conscious book, you had to maybe go to a temple or somewhere where that book was being very carefully protected, probably written on palm leaves or something like that, and you or someone would have to handwrite it. You make copies by hand. So who could do that? Who had time to do that? But we have so many books, not only books like this, but books on in the Veda base and so many things, and in so many languages. So we have, and plus we have this whole Krishna consciousness movement that Srila Prabhupada gave us for coming together, an association of devotees for practicing Krishna consciousness. And all this is increasing more and more. So here we are, again, those who are, at least those who are listening to the class here, we've gotten the chance to take up the path of Krishna consciousness, and we have all this facility. So there's no excuse for giving up that path of Krishna consciousness and doing anything else. We have to see somehow or other by the end of this lifetime, we can become fully Krishna conscious. And of course, you may think, "Oh, I'm so fallen, and I can't. I'll never make it. I'll never become Krishna conscious. Maybe 10,000 lives." We can think whatever. But Srila Prabhupada made it clear. He said so many times, you chant your rounds sincerely, 16 rounds. You follow the 4 regular principles. You keep engaged in devotional service, because if you're not engaged in devotional service, you'll not be able to keep actually chanting and following the principles. So you do these things. Just dedicate your whole life, or the rest of your life, depending on when we start. Dedicate that to Krishna's service, and in the end, at the end of life, if we've done like that, then Krishna says he'll take us back to the spiritual world. And then we may think, well, gee, I've been here for zillions of lifetimes. We don't know how long we've been here. There's so many lifetimes. So what if I go back there and I mess up and I come back here again to the material world and get entangled for another 10 zillion lifetimes? We may think like that. But if we But if we, but Krishna says that once having, also in Bhagavad Gita, once having returned to my eternal abode, you'll never take birth in this miserable material world again, right? So we have all opportunity, so we should take advantage of it, at least for the rest of this lifetime, give everything we can in Krishna service and become Krishna conscious. Well, sorry, I would always go over. So I think we'll just end here. Tomorrow we can start on verse 5. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.